first of what will hopefully be many episodes of Dish About the Dish Happy Hour, where we are endeavoring to make all 1,200 plus cocktails in the International Bartenders Guide, copyright 1996, that I found in my cookbook bookshelf that I have never touched. So you're probably thinking, how does cocktails deal with the story of your lives? Well, how many times when you're talking about your youth does it start with, remember when we're at that bar, or remember we spent all night drinking XYZ? That's why. We also have a little saying in writer world, which is write drunk, edit sober. Yes, that does sometimes help when you are stuck in a rut and you don't know what to write next. Let's begin with cocktail number 1, which is the Abbey Cocktail. It is a gin-based drink, so the first 3 I'm going to make are the first 3 gin-based drinks in the book. Besides gin, these beverages also have the same trait of they're all Prohibition era cocktails, which means they were created between about 1910 to 1930, when you made gin in your bathtub and you just tossed in whatever you could so it didn't taste like poison. Although part of me wonders if bathtub gin tasted like people, because they didn't have 409 or Lysol, so how clean was that bathtub? So I wonder if you were tasting gin, you would go, oh, this is from the Johnsons, because it tastes like them. Yes, things like that keep me up at night. But let's go to making drinks. So just like with cooking and baking, we're gonna have our mise en place, have everything you need ready to go, because once you start mixing the cocktails and your beverage or your liquid hits the ice, it's gonna melt, and you do not want a watered down cocktail. So in our cocktail shaker, we're gonna put in our ice. To make it nice and cold. And we are going to add our dash of bitters. Put the cheapest thing in the shaker first so you don't dilute it as much. I should also add, I am not a professional cocktail maker, bartender, or mixologist, which you will see when I start my shaking technique. So it'll be interesting to see if I get better as these videos go by. So we have a dash of maybe 2 or 3. What is a dash really? I don't know. So my ounce of orange juice. Can you see the line? And then we have our 1.5 ounces of gin. I'm not a gin girl, I'm a whiskey girl, so this should be interesting. So my cocktail glass was already chilled, and now we're gonna shake this for how long? I don't know, until my hands can't hold the shaker anymore. We don't want it to get too diluted. Then we're gonna strain it into this bit of loveliness here. And we garnish it off with a maraschino cherry, or maraschino, depending on where you're from, which is kind of sad down at the bottom. But here we have our lovely first cocktail, the Abbey Cocktail. So added to, because it made it easier to sit on to the end. But so here we go with our Abbey Cocktail. So it tastes like gin and citrus. It's not bad. Again, I'm not a gin girl. It's a little astringent for me, but you can knock a couple of these back, no problem. Excellent, that is refreshing. Next up is the Alabama Fizz, which is apparently the hometown drink of New Orleans. There's a lot of drinks I can think of that consider New Orleans their hometown. Apparently at one point, the fizzes were so popular, they had teams of bartenders that just made fizzes constantly, one right after the other. So let's begin. So like before, we're gonna start with our ice. And there'll be ice not only in the shaker, but in our Collins glass itself. You have a teaspoon of sugar. The juice of half a lemon. And as the oldest child mentioned, this is just basically an alcoholic lemonade. And then we add our 1.5 ounces of gin. And as you noticed, I'm using Tanqueray. I know there's many other types of gins out there. I'm used to Tanqueray though only because many years ago I went to a Las Vegas magazine party that was hosted by Tanqueray. So there's a lot of Tanqueray and lime. And Seal was the performing artist. And I remember they had one of those death suicide wheels with the motorcycle guys running around inside. And there was no barrier. So I could walk right up to that wheel of death and just go, cool, I'm really close. And nobody told me to step back. So because of that, I went with the Tanqueray. So we stir everything together. Pour it out into our prepared glass. And you top it with club soda. Oh. And you put in a really sad sprig of mint. Ta-da. And here we have our Alabama Fizz. So it is very much gin forward. I think it could use a little bit more lemon, but it's not sour and it's not sweet. I think so far I like this one more than I like that Abbey Cocktail. These could go down rather crisp as well. Spring day, summer, also Kentucky Derby. Kentucky Derby is where I can see you drinking quite a bit of these. Our last cocktail for the evening is the Alaska Cocktail. Now this one did intrigue me the most because of this bad boy right here, yellow chartreuse. I've never heard of yellow chartreuse. So I went to the store and this is not a cheap little bottle of liquor. Apparently out in the world there is a smaller 20 milliliter bottle that may be available. Can't really find it in a store. So this is the item that made me realize this little side project may become a pricey side project. So yellow chartreuse, what is it? Well, apparently it's some 1800s recipe of 130 plants, and the ingredients in the recipe are known by 3 monks, and they're sworn to a vow of silence. So I guess when one passes, they bring in somebody new and teaches this recipe to that monk. So all I have to say is this drink better be heavenly, and I must receive many blessings for shelling out the bucks to purchase this lovely item. So let's start with the Alaska Cocktail. So we have our chilled cocktail glass, and we're gonna load up our shaker with ice. So again, we're back to our bitters, 2 dashes this time. What's considered a dash? I don't know. So sure, we'll consider that a dash. And then we have, for some unknown reason, only a 1/2 ounce of this. So all of this work for a 1/2 ounce. Now I have read where it says it's called the Alaska Cocktail because it's supposed to give you a crisp alpine feeling to your mouth. We shall see. And then to that, we're going to add 2 ounces of our gin. Wow, that gin's got a distinct smell to it. Very alpine, which makes sense because it's juniper berries. This one wants you to stir. Strain it into our glass. There is no garnish listed for this unless they want you to do a little sprig of lemon peel. It did say you can switch out some of the ingredients for sherry. I'll put it down in the descriptions below. But here we have the Alaska cocktail. It does kind of look a little bit like the Aurora Borealis, doesn't it? Let's give it a try. It is a very distinct alpine, it does taste very alpine, brisk, very botanical. I can definitely taste like pine trees, like the scent of pine trees. I can taste that across my palate. I think so far my favorite is still the Alabama Fizz, but this is an interesting cocktail, and I can see how it will sure add some bang to your night. It is quite strong. But here we have it, our first 3 cocktails on our trip of 1,200 cocktails from the International Bartenders Guide. All of the recipes will be listed in the description down below, as well as a list of all of the ingredients that I use. And as always, when you are dealing with liquor and alcohol, I do encourage you to drink responsibly and to but still have a good time. So until next time, y'all.